Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Testing Peers. Tonight, we are going to do a full retrospective of PeersCon. Joining me tonight is the original crew. So we have Chris.
Hello, hello.
David.
Hiya.
Russell.
Hello.
And I'm Simon. Before we start, I just want to say a thank you to Saffron QA, who continue to be our sponsor, and they are also here to support the testing community. Therefore, any of our listeners be in the market for a new job in testing or hiring new talent for your team, please reach out to Ben. He can be contacted via email ben@saffronqa.co.uk. And with that, I'm handing over to Banter, which is David.
Excellent. So thank you very much, Simon. We're obviously going to talk about retrospectives. So let's talk about retro stuff. So what is the most retro thing either you own or that you remember playing with when you were a child?
Let's see what you did there.
I know. It's all in the context.
The most retro thing. I've got my original 1985 NES in my office with some of my favourite early Nintendo games. It doesn't really work very well on my TV these days. Doesn't work well on modern TVs. But I just sort of like it for the happy memories and all those good things. And, you know, my kids like to tell me how old I am when they see those things.
So I guess my retro thing is, I don't know, counts. So Shelby Cobra, AC Cobra. It's quite a retro thing, really. I appreciate it's still in parts and being built, so it's actually also brand new. But it's retro in the sense it's styled like a 1960s Roadster. So I guess that's probably the most retro thing I own.
I'm still thinking. I keep thinking the two things I come to mind is it's kind of retro, but I still have my Austin Powers outfit somewhere, which is, I guess the film was retro itself, technically. I haven't attempted to try it on for a long time. It was a Union Jack shirt and the frilly thing and the wig, whatever else.
I mean, the movie's 27 years old, so
Exactly.
I think by itself it's allowed to be retro,
isn't it?
Wow.
That's scary. So yeah, that's probably it. So
I was a bit anchored by Chris, but I was thinking about general technology. So I've got a PS1. I've probably got 2 and 3 as well. But also I have one, I think it's quite original, but I've got the iPod, you know, with the proper dial on, a classic. Well, they now or did deem as a classic, but it was classic when we got it, which isn't, you know, it is funny how I suppose that's only 25 years old. That is now seen as retro because we've all gone to touch screens. But it is interesting how sort of perception of that.
Because I've been Googling, well, the first iPod's 22 years old.
There we go.
I've got a phone that hasn't got a touchscreen. That's quite retro, I guess, as well, based on.
Yeah, I've got a CD player still. Does that count as retro?
I've got a tape cassette player, but we're not playing these games.
I've got a record player. Keep going. Let's go.
That was a fun lead in on the retro stuff, though. So we are back, friends, and we are on MetroRetro.
Woohoo.
Hello to Jamie and team. So we are going to do a retrospective on PeersCon 24, our very first conference that was put on by the testing peers. Thank you to those of you who came along. Thank you for your feedback, those of you. Hopefully some of that will have fed into this. We are using the open the box template on MetroRetro, and within that it has what should we add to the box, so what should we start doing. We have our hopes and dreams, things that we hope we can do, wish we want to be able to do. What should we remove from the box? So what should we stop doing? And what should we be putting back in? So what should we keep on doing? That's kind of the way it is. Before we started recording, the four of us wrote our stickies on the retro board already, but we haven't yet revealed them. So friends, please change your stickies from private to public and we shall run through them. Okay. So who hasn't shown theirs? There we go. Everyone has. Okay. I think we should start with what we want to keep on doing.
Do it.
Okay. So first up, we want to keep on having entrance music for speakers. Simon, this is your one. Did you enjoy that?
I did enjoy that. It kind of the wrestling geekery really enjoyed it, even from our starting point on the morning. And I think the one that sticks out for me is Lee's talk. I think his fire starter entrance was worked well for the talk and sort of added to the energy of the room. So I think it's a nice little touch, and I think it worked really well.
I think that was pretty good. Yes, I enjoyed that one. Lunch.
Oh, the lunches were good.
Definitely have food.
But the lunch was good at the Trent Conference Centre, wasn't it?
It was. It got lots of good feedback.
Got the
Yes.
pasta and the sandwiches and the cheesecake and the fruit
It was
and
a
the cheese.
Four-course meal.
Oh,
It was
oh.
for the price. It was amazing.
Us hosting question mark. Do we want to keep us hosting or do we want to have others? We had the great Dan Billing hosting in room 2.
Indeed, we did. I heard he did a decent job as well.
He did
So
a
that's good to hear.
fantastic Dalek impersonation at one point, which I very much appreciated. Thank you very much, Dan.
I have to say, from the hosting side, I probably left the prep until too late, last minute, the week before, the 3 days before. I was writing lots of frantic notes.
I think that's a recurring theme across the whole organisation of the conference.
Yes.
I think, the fact that we didn't have everyone having entrance music is because we didn't ask people
agreed.
that didn't plan ahead.
But I felt well prepared on the day, and I think I hope it didn't come across as too rushed or whatever else. But I enjoyed doing it. But if we feel that we want people that are better at it, I'm more than happy to step aside. But I did enjoy it.
Is better the right word?
Different,
Variation.
maybe.
Yeah.
Everyone is different. Everyone is awesome.
I think with us hosting, I think it depends on in what form we actually do it in. It depends on who's on the committee. I think it depends on who's talking.
What does hosting mean?
To us, and what exactly what does hosting mean?
I mean, maybe it's the intro, being there at the start of the day, being there at the end of the day, but letting someone else do the compare MC mode during the day. Yeah.
So I think that's open to interpretation.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I'm very happy to not be on stage.
And I think the question mark means that it's open to interpretation.
Exactly.
Yes, absolutely. That's why I put a question mark.
Good question. The values. Now, Russell, you're the one that sort of helped sort of push the values. You did find some stuff online, didn't you? But also the great code of conduct.
I wasn't sure what we meant by values.
And the wording for which our sponsors signed up when they joined. That sort of fed into the values. That was also something you did.
I was the one that put the values on there because I think that we lived by our values, and I think that there were lots of people that commented on the values.
It was community for community by community, low points, a little bit punk. I thought it was a lot of fun. It was a very relaxed atmosphere, a relaxed occasion for all. I thought we had quite a lot of comments that everyone just sort of like there was a really sort of chilled atmosphere on the day. It didn't feel like tense or too much for people.
It was quite nice having points during the day. I mean, I know we had a little bit of a, let's say, hiccup, but we had to stop Claire from starting her talk because the other room hadn't quite finished. I think they were overrunning slightly. But actually, that gave us about 10 minutes just to have general conversation in the room. And actually, Russell came and sort of said to me, you don't have to force the conversation, just let people talk.
Yeah,
it's a voice of reason, aren't you, Russell?
You know what? Actually, that worked quite well because people did just mingle for 10, 15 minutes because they had time to. And the lunches and stuff, people were engaging and interacting with people they don't usually interact with.
And sometimes you need those gaps that don't mean that you have to have drinks because actually people walk around the tables. And actually, the difficulty is if you don't have those gaps is that everyone gets up at the same time. And if there's someone you want to speak to, but you know where they're sitting, as soon as they've disappeared, you can't then find them again. Whereas actually, if you have that sort of bit where there isn't really anything going on, then you can actually identify people and go to them and have conversations with them a lot easier.
So that speaks a little bit to, so the layout in the main room that we had was the cabaret style. So we had all the tables out that meant that you're immediately not in a long line, but you're in a table, which can lead to more conversations with different groups of people. It can also mean that people never left their seats and left things there. Like it's not perfect. But I do think that sort of led to the sort of more relaxed feel in the venue. And it was actually the venue that suggested the cabaret tours, wasn't it, Russell?
It's a combination. I think we said that's the style we wanted as well. And we set it up as well so we had more seats than people, if that makes any sense. Yeah. So we asked for extra tables so that we wouldn't be too crowded. We made sure that we didn't do full cabaret, so we did partial cabaret so that people actually face the stage more. So we kind of did like 2/3 of the table versus the full 360.
I think that's
really right call because actually you don't want people with their backs to the stage.
Agreed.
Yeah, and then the venue was awesome, wasn't it?
The venue was amazing. It blew me away also once it started, we could all just relax because it just looked after itself. There weren't any hiccups because it was all organised so well.
That feeling when we walked in the morning, I was blown away just walking in and seeing the setup. The screens had the testing peer stuff on, the tables, the way it was set out. I was absolutely blown away. It was just the perfect venue for what we needed, and there's room for growth as well, which is a positive.
I think we've got here a couple of us have put down the volunteers. We should do that again just to shine a light on those volunteers. Aside from the four of us here, we also had Ugna Litvineta, Vernon Richard, Stephen Denman, Beth Marshall, Dan Billing, and Logan Baber as volunteers. And that just helped the day run from sign in to sign posting to making sure people knew where to go and doing all those things. I think they did a fantastic job. Not too many people, didn't feel too overbearing.
No, agreed. I think there was a good number. It wasn't, like you say, it wasn't too many of us, but the ones that were there, we all had something to do. We all were able to help out. We all very organically found our own roles, if that makes sense. Everyone seemed to be doing something different. There wasn't 5 people all trying to do the same thing.
And you didn't get gangs of volunteers just hanging about looking for things to do. And that's why I also felt we had the right ratio or the right number, because we were able to share the tasks. We were able to watch the talks or workshops that we wanted to go to without it feeling either under-resourced or over-resourced. I think it was perfect.
I was going to say, some of that was planned. I know it may look like it was organic, but I know Chris did some of the work organising them. We looked into the numbers that we would need, where would you want them, opportunities, what people wanted to do too. And so we were able to be flexible and help. And, we had people that wanted to kind of floor walk, mingle. We had people that wanted to kind of stay on reception, so to speak. Things like that. We had
people who couldn't stay still.
Yeah. So we had all sorts of different things. So it was good.
That was really nice. Okay, so we gave some speakers new opportunities. I think Al Goodall, it was his first public talk at a conference, wasn't it? In-person talk at a conference. That's amazing that we got to do that. We'd definitely love to see more of that in the future, which was brilliant. We've got a bunch of people in feedback said they want to help out next year. We had a bunch of folks from our testing peers community already volunteered to help, but to get even more people from the wider community to volunteer to help, to give us that positive feedback, which is also a note here I noticed, to have some positive feedback. It's great to get feedback, good and bad. And not all the feedback we got on the conference was good, but we'll come to that. I think it's brilliant that people received it well, and we want to sort of keep that going. The low ticket price was possibly one of the biggest elements we got in feedback.
Yeah, I agree. I think and actually we did a couple of polls during the day. Probably nearly half the room, it was their first conference, which was pretty impressive. And the low price point definitely helped with that, because if companies weren't happy to pay, then the individuals were happy to pay the £20 or the £15 to come along. So that worked really well. So yeah, I definitely encourage that we do that again.
And I've just put at the bottom, from day one when Russell put the website together, we were very transparent about the costs and the goals that we were trying to achieve in the conference. We wanted to keep that price point low. We wanted to get engaged sponsors to help enable the event to take place, so that we keep the price point low for us all not to lose money, and for the event to be going on great, which I think we got some good sponsors coming through. We're really pleased with those. I'm going to be a good Chris and thank all the sponsors now as well, because I've got my notes here. So massive thanks to our gold sponsor NTT Data, our silver sponsors in Focus Testing Intellica, Medtronic, and our bronze Cambridge consultants. So thank you to all of them. We really appreciate those folks investing in the event, an event that had literally no precedent with this group of people. That's amazing to have come forward and backed that.
And a lot of the people that came, a lot of them came forward because of wanting to get involved with something, and some of them hadn't got involved in testing conferences before. So again, more new sponsors to the market, and I think we were good for them too. Certainly speaking to M-Focus, they got quite a lot of engagement from the audience. I think one thing, and I don't want to jump on too much, but it would be good to see more of the sponsors if we do it again, as we're doing it again, to be more engaged, do the activities. And I know some of the sponsors just wanted to immerse themselves, which is absolutely fine. But it would be good to see them actively sort of doing stuff to engage the community next year.
I think there's always more that we can do, but I think the fact that they came along, it was all an experiment
Absolutely.
for all of us.
Yeah,
let's face it.
It was.
It was great. And the good news, the testing peers money man, Mr. Russell Cracksford, allowed us to say a thanks to our speakers and session facilitators. We had said that we couldn't, in our costings, we couldn't afford to pay speakers' expenses and costs. But with the little surplus that we did have, we have a tradition on testing peers to offer charity donations on behalf of the folks, and we were able to do that also, which is a real privilege to be able to do. And I think the combination of the transparency, the folks willing to give up their time for the community, and that, I think, were all real positives.
One of the things we did, obviously, in this particular one is we planned it. Well, we started planning it and doing everything very, very late, including getting sponsorship. This year, we've already agreed that we want to do. So we need to, if we've got funding and things a bit sooner, we've got a bit more idea, we can potentially always look at reviewing these things. I think the key is that we want to keep it low cost. That's kind of the key thing. So we will always look at these things, and if we do get more money in than it costs to run, then, as you said, charity donations, etc., is a great way of doing it.
Yeah, agreed. And I think we're already getting sponsors wanting to engage for the next one, so we should be in a very good place.
Yeah, and then the last one on what we should do again, it says more 9 out of 10 testers. Thank you, Simon.
Well, I mean, apart from you, of course, but
I mean, more of them. As in, we had 3, didn't we? So
we did have 3 out of the 5 out of 9 out of 10. Yeah.
But no, the feedback from that session, the ones that attended were like, "Oh, I wish they were on the main stage." I think we could do something more with the 9 out of 10 testers, engage more of the audience. Well, we can think about what sessions, but lunchtime thing or something where everyone is engaged. It's the kind of session that we need to do more of.
Should we move on?
Let's go to. I'm going to do stop. Yes, we've got no peers presenting. There we go. Get Armstrong off the stage. I think that's a good idea. I mean, I had no intention of getting on stage. I apologize for ending up twice on the stage. That wasn't intentional. Yeah, I mean, no peers presenting, making it more about the podcast group and more about the community. I think, the testing peers obviously started off with the 4 of us. It's on our logo that we have, but I think we've very much identified more in a wider community sense as we've sort of moved and flexed over the last few months, couple of years.
I think there'll be an organic thing, though. I think people still identify us as a podcast at the moment. I think the conference, well, they did until the conference. I think PeersCon will definitely help that. And I think if we can change our branding a bit to be less podcast focused, that will help. But we shouldn't shy away from the fact that podcast is what's got us here. So I think there's a balance there, I would say.
I don't think there's anything wrong in still advertising the podcast.
Oh, no.
Because
it's the same name. It's quite helpful. Exactly. Convenient. But yeah, we've had like 23, 24 guest hosts now as well. We're certainly not just the 4 of us. Yes, we put ourselves potentially financially on the line for organising this, and we came up with this one late night in Nottingham. The plan to create this, but it's a community event, and it'd be great for that community to be represented as well as to recognise where we've come from. On that note, of course, I've put there weren't enough non-men. The one comment I received at the end, the 2 volunteers who weren't men had already left by the time we thanked the volunteers at the end of the conference. So it was just a stage full of men. And I think we also felt when we did the call for papers, didn't we? That
we did, yeah.
What, 90%, 95% men?
95%. It was virtually all the original people that put
and
forward.
Representation, like men see men doing a podcast and men doing a call for papers. We can do better. We've got some great friends in the women in testing Slack community and stuff, and they've certainly offered to help in terms of sort of publicising and encouraging these things. And we want to do better have more representation of those things. We worked hard to make sure that we weren't overly men in our conference program, and I was really happy with the sessions that we ran. But I think, more balance across that would be good. I mean, optics is a thing.
Yeah, I would agree. I think we did have to work quite hard to make the program more diverse than it could have been if we'd just gone off the pure initial call for papers.
I think part
submissions.
of that is, again, it comes back to being rushed.
Yeah, I absolutely
we're
agree.
doing everything so quickly and getting people. If people give people more time, then more people can apply for these things.
We also, I guess, need to think about ways that encourage different diversities to apply in itself. We tried videos as well as written submissions for things. We have to look into kind of if there's any other ways that we can do things that will actually appeal more to people.
We didn't actually get any video.
We didn't, but we've called it call for collaboration as well, right? Because I think some of the review comments that we had when we reviewed abstracts were that this is a good seed of an idea. We could try and work with you to try and shape this. It was a model that Marit and Julia did for the European Software Testing Conference a while back, in terms of trying to shape the program and have those ideas. And certainly, writing an abstract isn't easy, and so
we've all failed at it many times.
Oh, haven't we just? I think that would be good. So on that front, I think we're probably all agreed. But we've got more lead time for March 13th, 2025.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we're already learning those things. But I put a note here going to corporate. The reason why I've written that down is we're at risk of being able to go bigger and better and feeling more like the more corporate conferences if we don't remember our roots and the way that we're doing things.
Stick to your values. Yeah.
You're right, but I think we've got to make, as Russell just said, our values.
Exactly. It was just making sure that we didn't go to.
It's by the community, for the community. It's also about, yes, we're going to want more people to help us make this happen, but they need to meet our values as well. We're not going to just bring anyone in and let them drive, move it to a corporate focus. This is about the community. This isn't about big corporations getting their pound of flesh by paying us lots of money and getting to present their wares on the day. This is not what it's about. Our sponsors don't get a speaker slot. That's not part of the deal.
No.
It's about the community, for the community, and we have to stick to that.
They are more than welcome to submit like everyone else.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Exactly,
and they'll be considered like everyone else.
We might have rejected more than one abstract that felt like a sales pitch, let's be honest.
Yes.
It's not the style we want, I guess. But yeah, anyway.
Moving on, you put just one person managing site tickets, venue arrangements. Who would that one person be, Russell?
Yes.
Yes.
Who is that?
You might have been me.
You were stellar, Russell, but you did end up taking the vast burden of the workload. So thank you for your
yes, definitely. Thank you.
Totally understand that you don't want to do it again.
I don't mind doing it again. I just want to do it with help. So, if something's wrong with the site, if something needs to do with the tickets, if something needs speaking with the venue, it's all defaults, I guess. That's the thing. I did
feel like we needed almost a ticketing system for you to fix the tickets at this point, because it was every time, Russell, can you fix this page?
He was the night before he was sat on his laptop when we were
doing the bag swag.
Yeah.
Laptop out, yeah.
Just making sure it goes as smoothly as possible.
I think this is where the key thing is: call for volunteers. We need those people to come on board as soon as possible to help us on that journey. And we need to assign roles, because we really tried to do the volunteers just on the day for the conference.
I was going to say, there's different things.
Yeah.
There is volunteering for the day itself. There's volunteering in different aspects of it. Marketing,
organisation, program committee,
committees.
Yeah. So actually now is a good time to suggest, if you want to be a volunteer, please go to
how could you do that?
testingpeerscon.com and submit
or peerscon.com, Russell, isn't that right?
Peerscon.
Correct. If you go to Peerscon, you will also be redirected.
And I think some of the potential sponsors that we're talking to for FY25, for Peerscon 25, are talking about offering their marketing department and stuff to help us with some of that side of things as well, which would be useful. But
and if I'm honest, we learnt a lot from the last one. So actually, some of the complexities, the nuances, the things that we had to fix on the fly have been done. We've learned from, we've built from, and we can reuse the assets, because reuse is something that we're keen on as well. So we are in a better place, but it's just key. We've got key man dependency at the moment in time. and I want to break that key man dependency, because we all know that's not good for that key man or for all of us, because it means we can't adapt where needed. We've all got different times, different capacities. So yeah, the more we can diversify, the better. Anyway.
Last one on this.
Agree.
This is mix-up host, Russell.
Is that me? Is it? The purpose was, I think, that we should actually have different hosts for different periods. So maybe like in the morning or afternoon, maybe for a few sessions.
Yeah.
Again, for the burden part, dependency part of it, to help give a bit more freedom to kind of people from like being stuck in a room or stuck on a task.
And allow the hosts to actually interact a bit more.
Yeah.
And give experience of more people to host things, to be quite honest as well.
Yeah.
I like it. Okay, so
stop putting the year of the conference on swag bags so we can reuse them.
Agreed. They're all sat in my loft.
We didn't put the year on, did we?
We did.
We did indeed.
Hashtag PeersCon24.
Also, I wonder whether we should put the sponsors on, because if we don't put the sponsors on, then the bags can be reused. But if we do put the sponsors on, they don't cover the next year.
I don't mind reusing the bags for the sponsors on them. It's the year that just looks a bit odd. Can't give it out next year. If we gave it out, they paid the sponsorship for a thing. That's not so bad, if you see what I mean.
There were folks asking for them at the end who would have taken them away with them, but they got tied up.
I've had a few people ask me for some since, actually, so I need to post them off.
Okay, let's go on with some ideas, and let's try and do this nice and quickly.
Let's wrap it up.
I put sitemap. People maybe couldn't find the sponsors, couldn't find the second room, all those things.
Okay, it's the venue sitemap rather than a website sitemap.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, venue sitemap.
That's a good map.
I think would be good. We've done mix-up hosts already.
To be honest, though, we didn't do that because we didn't know what the venue looked like.
Yeah, until we arrived.
Well, I did, but
did as well, to be honest. We had a map.
Yeah, we just like to sort of like show people where things were. But I think also the layout, like the sponsors, to feel a bit out of the way. If we can have them, maybe utilize this space with the climbing wall in is something that I've put also as an idea. Just to maybe like a breakout space.
I think I put a dedicated quiet room as well. So that's
I
agree.
I mentioned quiet room.
Yeah,
I mentioned quiet room as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think that would be good. Absolutely.
The quiet room comes out of if we move the sponsors into the main hall, then that room becomes a room that we could use for.
Or to the climbing room hall.
There is a coffee shop.
This is really pushing for that climbing wall.
Really want the climbing room wall. Desperately want that climbing room wall.
You can climb any wall, just not safely.
I can't climb any. I said potentially we could have a conference theme and purpose to be more defined and represented in the talks and sessions hosted. Maybe we can add it as part of the call. I mean, we had a theme which came through on some of the talks, but not all of them. I think also the purpose of the conference would be quite useful, because it's very easy for us to get trapped into being a generalist testing conference. But we built testing peers off leadership testing
as well,
agility, that sort of space.
I think we had a good mix of leadership and testing talks, but we didn't have any sort of deep down detailed testing talks. It was very theoretical.
Just a thought. But again, it all helps with lead time, doesn't it?
As long as we use the lead time, that's the key thing.
Yes.
Months already gone by.
Yes.
But we have got a site updated. We have got certain things, but we haven't decided on committees and some other bits and bobs.
So more diverse committee, more diverse speakers in application. We touched a little bit on this before, but Russell, these are your points.
Yeah, I think it says, like, if you've got a more diverse committee, I think that and it helps create more diverse speakers. I think it helps choose more diverse speakers.
Yeah.
Gives the sort of biases within it to help kind of create those things.
Yeah.
We are a bunch of white guys and sitting right here talking. Yeah. So we've got to be conscious of that.
True.
So we do that, and we've got to look into ways that we can attract. So it's where we post it, where we share it.
Mm-hmm.
There's all sorts of diversity, from neurodiversity, ethnicity, gender.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of diversity, and we had a reasonable mix of things there. But I think,
there's always room for better. Yeah,
exactly.
So I get that. More publicity of speakers and talks in advance. Again, that was down to time, wasn't it?
And actually, interesting, the capturing things for the pod, we could invite the speakers as part of a co-host in the preparation, not necessarily talking about their talks, but doing things like that. There are lots of things we can do with the speakers.
Some of the conferences do like little sort of box pop sort of things for the speakers in advance. It might be nice, I don't know. Getting to know people so we don't have to have an about me slide. Those sorts of things is possible. So yeah, I like it. A new PeersCon logo we've talked about. So we'll move on. More help with marketing organising, I think we've touched on already as well, with the sponsors piece as well. So let's go on to ability to donate tickets and scholarship tickets.
Yeah, so that was some feedback we had recently, actually.
Yeah.
We have created kind of a scholarship tickets, and you could always donate your thing. You just have to email us to tell us to change the name the ticket was in. But we can do that better. So the scholarship ticket idea is one where you can buy a ticket, and then depending on how many we've got, we're going to do something which we haven't figured out yet what to offer those to people that want to come to the conference, but who perhaps have never gone to a conference, who perhaps can't afford a ticket, who perhaps live in Nottingham nearby. Find a way to get things and invite people along.
Maybe students from the universities or something like that might be in as well.
It's,
But
it's
yeah,
also
let's,
yes. So
yeah,
you know,
let's
first
see.
of all, we've got to get people to buy some, and then after that, we're going to figure out the best way we can. It could be competitions, it could be nominate someone. So we'll probably do that via sort of X and other places. But I think we'll see what we've got, and we'll probably try a few different things this year, see what works.
And on the tickets, you've got check-in codes versus a list printed on the day.
Yeah, so I think
Yeah.
volunteers found it a little bit hard going through the list. I think I've one of my many things to do. I forgot to print the list before the
Yeah,
morning
and I
of, so
think
the venue printed it for us,
and
which is
they
good.
printed it really badly.
They printed it badly, and also
Dub-
obviously if someone had
Exact.
booked 10 tickets for their place, it was all the same person for 10 tickets. And
Yeah, so that has changed now in our ticketing system. So I've made it
Right,
that
okay.
actually for every one you have to put in kind of an email address of the person that tickets. But again, that just means there's going to be more editing because actually people will buy 10 for people that don't know who they're going to be.
Yeah.
So I imagine that's going to cause some problems as well. So it's pro and con, really.
Yeah. Plan for more swag costs.
Yeah, so when we first budgeted for kind of marketing and things cost, I think for this year, I think we put something like 200 quid inside to it originally or something. And I think we spent about 2,000.
Yeah, 400 quid on stickers alone, wasn't it? So yeah,
Yes.
Come on,
So
sticker meal, give it to us for free.
So we have budgeted for it this year in the next plan of doing what we
Mm.
need to sponsorship and stuff, but I think we definitely needed to be a bit more savvy.
And on that front, I've put sustainable merch. I did note
Yeah.
that Cambridge Consultants gave us those nice pens with seeds to grow things. That's pretty
pencils
cool.
with seats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we are looking at HR Group are definitely into the sustainable merch, so we'll be looking at sponsoring next year. And
Actually,
looking at what
when
merch to actually
Sana did
provide.
Test Jam in Utrecht a couple of years ago, all of their stuff was like bamboo and sort of sustainable swag. It's pretty cool. And you know, if you're gonna do swag, it'd be kind of cool if you can sort of lean into that a bit more. Yeah, that's cool. Runners with mics and people having recorded sessions, ways to fill gaps.
I think I don't think necessarily you need more runners for mics, but I think you definitely need more spotters for the
Yeah,
people
that's
that
true.
put it up.
It was just one Simon trying to get all his steps.
Because
Yeah,
there was
it
one
was.
guy
I
who
did manage my 10,000
putting, or
steps.
he was starting to lose interest because he wasn't spotted.
Yeah, not being seen. I think it's because of the size of the room, it probably is two mics and things, so that one person's with the person speaking and then the next person's lined up.
Because I think what was happening was people were pointing for me to run, and I'd run to them, but then someone else had grabbed a mic because they were nearby, or there was especially for there was a couple of talks where there was a lot of questions,
especially if there's one person from one end of the room to the other.
Yeah, exactly.
Keeping your step count up, as you say, Simon.
It delays things a little bit, so you can get more questions per time if you can have a couple. And we did have 2 mics. I think we could have used.
And on time we've all put ideas of filling gaps with tabletop activities. Like there wasn't really a lot that we left on the tables, was there?
No, and that was something we talked to some of the sponsors about. They would, some of the sponsors were suggesting some ideas of things like that. So,
there was a quiz, wasn't there? Like
there was a quiz and some tabletop sort of questions just to engage with the people on your tables, but none of that materialized. And again, it was down to the time. So,
but I think also the fact that we didn't quite know how it was going to turn out and how many desks, or how many tables there were.
Yeah, we've never ran a conference like that before.
And on sort of prep stuff, there was stuff about sharing speaker notes. A lot of people asking for slides and having those things ahead in advance. I think all of that, more lead time to organise.
I think it also as part of that, it's important to protect the speakers' notes, copyright, and notes as well, because lots of people would expect to keep I think stuff.
We need to figure out how we can distribute them better. Now, obviously, the emails, as we mentioned, by ticketing differently, that will help. I will make sure I can go in and let people update tickets themselves. I think it's the thing, so they can change email address. I think they can anyway, but I'll go in and make sure that that's possible. I think, and it probably will be like a email to a Dropbox or something like that. We'll have to do password protect type thing, so that it's only attendees versus everyone. But yeah, I definitely think that we could ask for it in advance. That would help. That would help us with the logistics on the day. And obviously then we can also send them out straight away, if you see what I mean, because we weren't quite thinking of that.
And also we can perhaps send out feedback forms directly to people as well. That might be
if we've got all their email, yeah, we can potentially use their emails as a feedback. Good idea.
Yeah. And then I think we've got an idea about doing some different tracks, maybe clearly defined what different rooms, different tracks may be about. Again, I think we talked a little bit about theming before and what our identity might be. Maybe we want to have more technical track, maybe more of a leadership track. We can certainly think and change about
I
some of those
know
ideas.
it's been done before at other conferences, but a new person to testing type track as well. So some intro type talks might be useful as well. But let's investigate what we can do and
I think
how many tracks we want to put on. For example,
it's what we get as well. It comes down to a little bit to kind of what is put forward to us, what the committee want to decide upon as being selected, and then trying to group it together and organize it into kind of a coherent plan.
Okay. So we'll finish on hopes and dreams, friends. Firstly, number of people. We've got 400 people, more people, 1,000 attendees. It's good to have stretch goals, isn't it?
Does the Trent Conference Centre finish hold 1,000?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, that's the max.
Excellent. Okay.
In that style,
that.
in cabaret.
I'm not sure we can get to 1,000 cabaret, but they can do it in other forms.
Yeah.
But anyway,
excellent.
Let's find their max. Maybe that's the test.
I mean, our stretch goal was 200 this year, and we sold 187
or something.
Tickets.
153
came up on the day.
Yeah.
I mean, I was delighted. Didn't feel
for a first
quiet at all.
Given the low price point for 153 out of 180, however many to actually attend, that's really good. Yeah. That's really good.
So doubling, I think, is what I think is a really good idea. And obviously, we may get 300 people actually turn up, but that would be double again. But we'll see. I think we've already started selling tickets, which is great.
Into double figures.
Double figures as well, yeah.
Yeah,
yes.
Even more than just double figures. It sounds like there's only 10. It's grown beyond
there's
that.
At least 12,
But yeah, so obviously, if anyone listens to this, feel free to go to the website.
What's the website again, Russell?
Testingpeerscon.com or testingpeerscon.com. I can't say these things. It's horrible.
We'll put it in the show notes, friends. Don't worry.
Oh, yes. Trust me.
So I think that's there. We've put for it to be an annual event and even an annual event in Nottingham. Now, do we want to just explain why we chose Nottingham, friends? Because I don't think we ever did tell people why.
Because you knew someone, Chris?
Well, that's not. We didn't know. We got the venue because I knew someone, but we didn't choose Nottingham because we knew someone.
We initially tried to. It started because we tried to find somewhere that was central to all four of us.
That wasn't London.
Well, central to country, I think, was more the plan, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of triangulation.
So we looked at Birmingham. We looked at kind of
Midlands
Nottingham,
was the intended, wasn't it?
Midlands is where we landed, wasn't it? And then we ruled out certain places.
Yeah. We also did look up in Newcastle, though. One of the venues we looked at was the Sage in Newcastle.
We did start looking at universities as well, we tried to work with Aston to use their conference venue.
Also spoke to Newcastle University about that as well.
Yeah.
So there was quite a few places like that. We definitely wanted to do something slightly more, a different location, I guess, to the standard locations.
We didn't know that at one point Test Bash were planning to be there as well. It didn't land there in the end. That would have been quite funny.
Yes.
Well, it was all done completely independently.
Yes.
And we got the thing sorted just, and then I think I was in Test Bash and then heard that the next year's was going to be in Nottingham. And I was like, in about a week's time, we're about to announce that we're about to be doing one in Nottingham. Whereabouts in Nottingham are you going? Okay, same place. Whoopsie. Good choice.
These
Good
things
choice.
happen. Now, someone has boldly put the word international question mark, and there's no shadow of a doubt that anyone would be surprised that one person was Simon Pryor, the big thinker in the room.
But they have ambition, right?
It was international.
International as far as the attendees. Yes, you're right, it was.
Yes.
No, the speakers.
Yeah, but what about us going international and hosting it somewhere that's not the UK?
Abroad.
Longer term.
That would be a logistical
The island. Well, it's all about the committee.
It's a hope and dream.
It is a hope and dream. Why not? I mean, that's
Longer
big.
term.
I mean, we've also got the start of a consultancy.
Same person suggested that one, right?
Peers consultancy, actually, yes.
Oh my God.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe one day.
You heard it here first, folks.
It's not the first time we've mentioned it, to be honest.
As with most things, talk about it for 5 years and it'll happen. I hope and dream is that it doesn't become a cliquey event, David.
Yeah, I don't like the idea that it's just the same people doing it all the time, and they're just this group of people that aren't.
It's the danger with conferences, as they repeat, because let's face it, we like seeing people that we like in conferences, but
No one likes seeing people that like, that's human nature, isn't it?
inclusion and new, as we've mentioned.
Well, I think we have to celebrate the fact that we brought several communities together with PeersCon. There was people from several various, whether it be BCS, whether it be Ministry of Testing, whether it be Eurostar, people that don't usually go to conferences together, they would come together in the same room. And that was a nice dynamic to see people actually mixing and talking.
Definitely.
So yeah, I do completely agree with the fear of it becoming cliquey, but I think we've got a lot to work with to move it forward.
Sounds good. Okay, so we're down to our final two hopes and dreams. Enough funding to be able to do some sort of funding for collaborators. I think this picks up on that point where we'd asked everyone to do stuff for free, Russell. We'd like to be able to actually compensate folks for giving up their hard-earned time and sharing their wealth of knowledge.
That might be starting small by funding hotel rooms or something like that, or some kind of token gesture.
Compensating people, isn't it, for the because
Yes,
it takes
exactly.
time, it takes energy, it takes effort. It is not.
Even if they've given the session before and elsewhere and it's done, it's still their skill, it's still their experience, it's still the learnings that they're bringing that no one else can give that perspective.
Yeah, and it's really valuable that people have been so generous with their time, with their travel. It's not just time, it's actually been cost. To Simon's point, their hotel costs. We had people on planes flying there.
People got the Eurostar away from Holland.
Yeah, things like that. So doing more on the funding side makes sense. I think there's a certain amount of cost for the scale. That's always going to be a challenge for us and trying to keep the price low. But if we can attract a few more sponsors, even if just 2 more silver sponsors theoretically type thing, then average for what we wanted. And actually that becomes possible. We don't want 3,000 sponsors, but all it'll take is a couple more. And actually we go from being able to pay the costs of the event, because it does cost per person. So 400 people will cost more than 200 did. It's double the cost, actually, virtually.
Double the lunches.
It's double the lunches. It's, you pay per head for conference venues most of the time. So so I think it would be good.
And I think that sort of in terms of equality, we say the same for all.
Well, this is the thing. The speakers that we get, if it's not funded, will be different, because some people can't afford the travel, the cost, the things like that. Their workplaces won't support them, so it's on them. So we'll actually get more diverse speakers if we can actually fund our collaborators. So it's something we definitely want to do. We didn't have the means last time. We might not have the means this time, but I think it's something we want to work towards.
An intention. We'd like to get there, definitely.
Yeah, I think we'll hopefully get closer this time.
To finish on, more of the peers community taking part in the organisation. The peers community's some 50 odd people at this moment in time. It's an intentionally smaller group than just anyone and everyone, safe space, safe peers. But it's a community, but we don't want to get out of control. We don't want to replicate what other things have existed. Like MOT exists, we don't need to try and replicate it. They're awesome. Let's let them carry on being them. That's not what we're trying to do. We have our goal of sort of peers in testing, leadership, quality and agility, right? That's our goal. We want people who are participant, who are adhere to the values, the codes of conduct, and that we have. We want that group to continue to grow, but slow and steady, and for the conference to be the same. We don't want to just jump from 153 to 153,000. That'd be a bit insane. We're coming for your Dreamforce. More people helping to organise, more lead time should hopefully lead for us to get PeersCon to be a bit bigger, a bit better, and we iterate. Right?
Yep. Always learn and improve.
Okay, now David's looking a bit stressed because we've done a long episode, listener. If you're still listening, my goodness, thank you. I did want to just complete my round of thanking people, to thank these three, David Simon Russell did a tremendous job on the
Chris.
day. I was a little bit
Chris.
vacant on the day. I did end up getting signed off for burnout. I wasn't really quite
Well,
with
you
it
did
at
do
the
two
time.
talks as well.
Yeah, well,
did.
that clearly didn't help. I just wanted to say thank you to you guys, but also for those who did speak: Heather Reed, Al Goodall, Sanavissa, Claire Recklessly, Rathbone, Andrew Brown, Beth Clark, Jitesh Gosai, Richard Hinton, Halbs Coates, Callum Akehurst Ryan, and Shay Crompton. Thank you, everyone, for being so participant. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the feedback that we've received so far. We got quite a lot of good feedback, and we got some constructive feedback, some actionable feedback, which is what we were asking for. Thank you for that. Thank you for continuing to listen to the podcast. Please like, share, subscribe, give us feedback on the pod. We really appreciate it, and we really appreciate you. So, thank you. See you next time. PeersCon 25.
For now, it's goodbye from the testing peers.
Goodbye.